Welcome to The Explainer. So today, we're going to completely reframe everything you thought you knew about a word we hear literally every single day, and that word is coding. Now, if you think you already know exactly what that means, well, buckle up. We're about to look at it through a totally different, kind of unexpected lens, and that is the lens of human behavior. Let's just dive right into it.
Let's be real for a second. When you hear the word coding, what immediately pops into your head? Are you picturing machines, maybe huge server racks, or, glowing green text on a black screen, complex algorithms? That's kind of the standard everyday view, right? But what if I told you that coding is actually intimately, deeply connected to human behavior? It's really not just about giving cold, rigid instructions to computer hardware. It is fundamentally about taking the messy, totally unpredictable reality of how humans act and think, and translating that into structured systems that we can actually use and understand.
Here is our roadmap for today's explainer. 1. The human side of coding. 2. Software built for humans. 3. Decoding the human experience. 4. Finding patterns in people. And finally, 5. The future of human data.
All right, kicking things off with section 1, the human side of coding.
Check out this quote. It's from Mortada Al-Tamimi. He's a software engineer at Meta with like a decade of experience. He admitted that his own hesitation to leave the comfort of familiar coding frameworks was actively holding him back. This is huge because it brilliantly shows that even at the absolute highest levels of tech, coding is heavily dictated by human behavior. It's driven by our natural comfort zones, that psychological fear of the unknown, and our personal drive to adapt. The programmer's own human psychology, their anxieties, their goals, literally shapes the architecture of the code they write.
And, it goes well beyond just the programmer's internal mindset. Think about your everyday IT technician. Their primary goal isn't actually just to make a machine run. They're essentially coding automated solutions to common human problems. They see reoccurring administrative stuff that causes frustration, boredom, and burnout in their coworkers. They recognize that behavioral pain point, that very real human friction in a daily workflow, and they code a bridge right over it. When you really think about it, it's basically human empathy disguised as automation.
Moving right along to section 2, software built for humans. Okay, think deeply about how development roles are actually split up. You've got back-end development, handling the behind-the-scenes logic in databases, usually using languages like Python or Java. But then look at front-end development, using HTML and JavaScript. That's building the parts of a site that a user actually interacts with. And that front-end code, it is entirely dictated by human behavioral psychology. Where does the human eye naturally dart to on a screen? What specific color makes a user feel trust? How fast do they lose patience if a menu is, just a bit too clunky? Front-end coding is just human behavior, human desire, and human limitation translated directly into tech. And to put into perspective just how much we value this translation of human behavior, well, $132,270 is the median U.S. salary for software engineers. That's massive. We pay a huge premium to the people who can construct digital environments that just seamlessly integrate with our unpredictable human habits. Society is essentially funding these massive psychological experiments, rewarding whoever can best predict and accommodate how human beings actually want to interact with information.
Which brings us to a major pivot in section 3, decoding the human experience.
Okay, so in qualitative research, a code is a short label that symbolically assigns an essence-capturing attribute to data. Notice what just happened there. We are no longer talking about writing Python for computers. We're talking about organizing the absolute chaos of human phenomena. When researchers do behavioral interviews or observe people in the wild, they get mountains of messy raw data. People just don't speak in neat little spreadsheets, right? Coding is the systematic method researchers use to capture the true essence of that human experience, giving structure to the deeply complex ways we live and interact. Now, drawing on the methodology of expert Johnny M. Saldana, this process happens in some very distinct, highly intentional stages. First up, raw data collection, gathering all those complex human narratives. Second, first cycle coding, that's attaching those short labels we talked about to the data to define what is fundamentally happening. Third, you group those individual codes into broader categories. And finally, step 4, developing overarching themes. Just like a software engineer organizes logic to build an app, a qualitative researcher organizes behavioral data to build a coherent narrative about the human condition. Section 4, finding patterns in people. So, how do they actually do this? Well, there are specific tools. Take in vivo coding. This uses the participants' exact words as the code itself. It's amazing because it perfectly preserves the raw human voice and the precise behavioral context of the person who's speaking. Descriptive coding, on the flip side, assigns labels that summarize the content. This gives more of a broad brush understanding of the narrative. The researcher has to carefully pick the right tool for the job to best capture the specific human behavior they are studying. They have to make absolutely sure the authentic human element doesn't just get lost in translation.
Now, you might be thinking, okay, but is this just abstract theory? Not at all. This is used to solve real-world problems. Qualitative coding is used to analyze classroom interactions, literally decoding how students behave and learn in real time. It's used in corporate offices to understand employee culture, figuring out what actually motivates a workforce beyond just getting a paycheck. It's even used to decode patient healthcare experiences, which directly improves how massive medical systems treat human beings when they are in moments of acute distress. We are quite literally coding human narratives to tangibly improve society.
And this brings us to the ultimate reframing moment. When you put tech coding and qualitative coding side by side, yeah, the tools look completely different. You've got Python on one hand, in vivo coding on the other. The data is different too, digital inputs versus raw human interviews. But look at the goal. Tech coding builds software for humans to use. Qualitative coding builds theories to understand how humans function. At the end of the day, both fields fundamentally use structured coding to manage, organize, and serve human behavior. They are literally two sides of the exact same coin.
Let's look ahead. Section 5, the future of human data.
What's wild is that the future of qualitative coding is actually starting to look a lot like tech coding. We are seeing a massive increase in the use of powerful software for coding and visualization, just to handle incredibly complex human data at scale. We're also seeing more participatory approaches. Actually, scratch that. It's more like highly collaborative approaches, where researchers are actively engaging the participants in the analysis itself. It's bridging the gap between human participants and the data they generate, letting the subjects of the study help shape the final behavioral insights.
To keep all this chaos organized, researchers rely on something called the codebook. And this isn't just a simple list, it's a highly detailed glossary of human patterns. Think about it, just as a software developer absolutely needs clear documentation for their code base so other people can understand the program, a qualitative researcher has to maintain a precise codebook. This ensures anyone can perfectly trace that transparent trail from the raw human behavior all the way to the final analytical conclusion. It's basically the master key to decoding why people do what they do.
So, I want to leave you with this final kind of provocative thought. We've seen today that coding is this hidden bridge connecting digital architecture directly to human reality. So whether you are writing Python to build the next big web application, or you're out there analyzing human narratives to improve our healthcare systems, what chaotic data will you code next? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and definitely keep looking for those hidden structures in the everyday human behavior all around you.